My husband and I, 48 female, had good jobs, so we got the opportunity to save and buy a house when we got married. Then, as my husband loved to fish, we saved money again to buy a home on a lake near our city. We have 2 kids, Theo, male, 29, and Lindsay, female, 26. We often had family vacations at the lake house as it wasn't that far. The house was under my husband's name. My husband got sick 5 years ago with a terrible illness. He fought all he could but ended up passing away a year later. So as a way to take precautions, he passed the properties to me, and the money he'd saved up. We had separate savings accounts. He never told me what to do with the money or anything, he just passed it all out to me with the help of a lawyer. He also wrote a will for some of his beloved items, his grandfather's car for example, things that weren't expensive but had an emotional value. He left some stuff for me, some for our kids and the rest of his family and friends. After his passing, we started a yearly tradition to go there on his birthday to remember him. Around 8 or 9 months ago, my son came up to me and asked me what plans I had for the house. He explained that he wanted to buy a house before his marriage and would love to buy the lake house. I told him I needed to think about it, but then I agreed. My son reminds me of my husband a lot. He loves nature as much as his dad did, and he loves that house too, so I knew that it would be in great hands. We did it all legally, and the house was sold market price range. My son and his fiancée plan to move soon. My daughter came home to visit me the other day. She asked me if we were going to the lake house to celebrate my husband's birthday again this year. I told her that we should ask Theo, but I'm sure that won't be a problem for him. She asked why we should ask him, and I told her that since it's his house now, he gets to decide that kind of stuff. She went crazy when she found out Theo had bought the house. She had the nerve to say that she feels robbed by me because that was her house too, and I didn't ask her. I had to remind her that legally that house was mine and that I'd sold it to her brother, not just some stranger. We ended up having a big argument over this. She said I broke her dad's promise because he told them both that the house would always be theirs to go on vacations. It would never sell or something like that. I didn't know that as he never told me, and he didn't give me any instructions about the house. At last, I told her to get over it and she left. She also blocked my number and I couldn't call her. I think she's overreacting. The house is her brother's home now. It's not like we lost it forever to some stranger. My son and his fiancée will sign a prenup too, so he won't lose the house in case of a divorce. But also, I understand that she feels heartbroken over that promise that I had no idea about. Am I the idiot for selling my house to my son? You are the idiot. It was in your name, but it was a family house. Your daughter has just as many fond memories there as your son. So why would you not have mentioned it to her after your son said something? I always find it telling when someone keeps something quiet like this. You probably already knew this was a bad idea. That's exactly why she hid it from her daughter. Her knee-jerk reaction shows who the clear favourite is. It's as simple as that. A house that has been used by the whole family for years is then sold to the son on the down low. When it comes to light, basically arguing back, well, it's mine and I can do what I want, shows where their favour lies. No worries, she got some books, so that should be more than sufficient. Jeez. And I don't believe for a minute that she didn't know her husband told the kids it would always be theirs. That's the kind of statement that's made at family dinners. She's just covering for herself. She knew, absolutely knew, and intentionally kept it from her daughter. A simple call, hey, your brother wants to buy the house, you okay with that? It's not that hard. Do you hate your daughter or something? At the very least, you don't seem to care about her at all. Also, it takes some time to sell a house. How often did you talk to your daughter while the process was going on, and didn't mention it? It was inconsiderate to not discuss it with both of them together, and you clearly favour your son. I wouldn't answer your calls from now on either. We're separated and share custody. Every year around his birthday he gets his medical maintenance like dental exams, physicals and shots. He's a tween about to have a birthday, and my ex said she'd schedule his physical. For stuff like that I usually take him because obviously he doesn't want his mom in the room when he has to pull his pants down. He doesn't think twice about me and he likes his doctor. A good doctor is hard to find and my son has never seen any other doctor. My ex said she'd scheduled it but would leave work early to take him. I said at his age this is something that he would want me to do. She said that it was fine because she was going to a new doctor. The doctor is closer to her place and was the mom of one of his classmates. I believe the mom is trying to build her practice, and what better way to start than a physical like a dentist doing a cleaning? My ex was even going to send our son's records to her office. I told her that she had no idea what she was doing. Our son isn't going to be comfortable having a physical done by a woman who happens to be his friend's mom in front of his own mom. It'd be so outside his comfort zone that it'd be creepy. We argued about it, and it came down to the fact that she doesn't want to drive to his usual doctor because it's too far, so she wants something close to her. She said she doesn't want to spend 45 minutes in traffic the next time our son needs a doctor's appointment like she did when he needed stitches on his chin. I told her that our son's usual doctor is good and that's why everyone wants to see him. This isn't about what's convenient for her. Grow up. I do many things I don't want to for my kid, but I do it. I went over her head and cancelled the one my ex made. Of course, she's mad at me for doing that without letting her know until I scheduled one with his usual doctor. I'm going with not the idiot on this one because you're thinking of what is best for your son and she's thinking about what is best for herself. I will add a caveat that your son is old enough to communicate his own comfort levels and he should be consulted in an age-appropriate way to provide his view. It's important to teach your children how to advocate for their own health. For starters, she can't be mad you cancelled the appointment without telling her when she changed doctors without telling you. You might want to call your clinic and make sure they know that your wife can't remove your son from their patient list without talking to you so she doesn't force him to lose his place. Being comfortable with a doctor is a huge thing, and a young boy is not going to want to talk to his friend's mother, let alone get a physical done. I think mom feels left out that son wants OP at the doctor's, but it doesn't justify making these changes without talking to you. I, female 23, have recently started an internship at a fairly big company. It's unpaid, but you take what you can, right? I work with 20 to 30 other people who are mostly between 30 and 50 years old. Mostly men, but a few women. We have a lunchroom that's solely for our department, and we can take lunch breaks whenever we want or split it however we like. For example, I can take 6 10-minute breaks instead of one 1-hour one. One day I decided to take my break and make myself a coffee. There were 2 people in the break room, Jody and Amber, fake names obviously, females in their 30s. Jody is Latina while Amber is from some random small country in Europe that I've never even heard of. Whatever. I greeted them and they greeted me back. I went to make myself a coffee and wanted to sit with them and join their conversation and make friends, but they switched to Spanish and carried on talking. I asked them if they could switch to English because it's rude to speak another language when I don't understand it. Amber told me it's a private conversation and they won't be switching. I told her she was incredibly rude and she related that it was a private conversation on a break. I told that she was rude and not even Latina, so she had no business speaking Spanish. She literally just ignored me, which made me angrier as I found it incredibly disrespectful. The same day, I went to HR and filed a complaint against Amber for creating a hostile work environment. Nothing has come of it yet, but somehow everybody knows what's happened and they're angry at me. They all stop talking whenever I enter the break room and nobody wants to chat with me. At this point, I feel like it's bullying. I asked Jody for help as she was the witness, but Jody said I was the idiot for reporting Amber for nothing and to apologise or suck it up. I honestly don't think I was the idiot. I think Amber was rude, but I don't know anymore. Who was the idiot here? Oh, honey, you barged in on a private conversation, acted entitled to the conversation when told it was private, then reported them to HR for having a private conversation on break, and are shocked no one wants to talk to you out of fear you'll report them for nothing as well. You are the idiot. People can have private conversations in any language they please during their breaks. No law says that they have to talk to you. In actual fact, you were rude for just sitting at their table without even asking if that was okay. You running to HR made you insufferable. Of course, nobody will want to talk to you now because if you don't like what they say, you'll report them to HR. OMG, it's a private conversation. Get over yourself. You're not the victim here. No one wants to talk to you because you're rude and entitled and acted like an idiot to your co-workers and wasted HR's time. By the way, this company definitely will not hire you. You're not even a paid employee and you're already causing trouble. Yeah, like, is she going to complain to the teacher that no one wants to be her friend? They're not obligated to enable you to listen to their private conversation. And if you can't even be bothered to find out or remember which obscure little country in Europe one of them is from, maybe they don't want to be friends with you. You are an entitled snowflake. I recommend you watch the reality show Snowflake Mountain. The good thing is you're still pretty young, so there's a lot of time for you to correct this behavior. My parents' 50th anniversary is this spring, and my brother and sister want to take them on a houseboat trip. The one they want to rent costs about $16,000 for a 5-day booking. That's not bad since it can sleep 28 people. It's a little over $100 per person per day. However, they want to split the cost 3 ways, $5,300 each. It's my parents' anniversary and a big one. Both my partner and I make good money and we can afford it. However, I think it's fair for us to pay for our room and a third of my parents' bill. That would be more like $1,600. I think that's fair because I'm not bringing kids or grandchildren. I don't have any. I have an elderly English sheepdog who is not invited. My brother is bringing his wife, 3 kids, their parents, their kids, and 4 grandchildren. My sister is bringing her husband, her children, his daughter, all their partners, and their kids. I don't know all of the grandchildren since I don't know her stepdaughter that well. Regardless, I don't want to pay much more than what I think is fair. I might be willing to go up to $2,000 to keep the peace, but more than that is ridiculous. I can take my parents to Vegas by myself for less. My siblings think I'm being cheap and unfair since it's a special occasion and we're doing it for our parents. I believe they have a bunch of other adults who could pay their way. Not the idiot, you're being fair. You're being more than fair if you're willing to pay an extra 25% over your actual portion. Are they bringing adult children who have families of their own? They should contribute as well. Or will you pay 1/3 but you want 1/3 of the beds? See if they think that's fair. Why can't the numerous adult children pay for themselves? If your nieces and nephews are old enough to have their own children, they're old enough to pay for their vacation. Why should you split the bill for 24 other people, excluding yourselves and your parents? Your proposal sounds fair. Pay for your share and split your parents' share with your siblings. Every other adult can pay for themselves and their children. I have an elderly English sheepdog who is not invited. Good Lord, that's crazy. They're trying to get you to pay more so they can offer a free trip to other people. I thought my relative asking me to split the cost of their children coming was presumptuous, but now I have a new bar for that. OP, wake up. You're being used to subsidize other people. Tell them it's not happening like that. Do they think it's cheap and unfair? 2 of you versus how many? I'm astounded at their audacity and lack of math skills. Seriously though, they're really trying to take advantage of you. I, 19 female, have always been very close to my dad's side of the family's grandparents. My grandparents, my dad and I have travelled across the country together, and my dad and I visited at least once a week while growing up. My dad has an older brother and sister, each with their own set of children. I am my dad's only child. Last year, my grandmother passed away. My dad and I were her primary caregivers throughout her final weeks of life, as she wanted to pass at home. One day, I was sitting with my grandmother and she gave me her wedding and engagement rings as a 19th birthday present. I was completely shocked, but flattered to be given these rings. But this gift upset my entire family, as I was not the next in line to receive them. Shortly after her death, my grandfather received my grandmother's life insurance check. While eating dinner with my grandfather, he told me he'd decided to use my grandmother's life insurance check to pay for my tuition and housing at college because that is what my grandmother would have wanted. My aunt, Dad's sister, is helping my grandfather manage his finances now that my grandmother has passed. When my grandfather told my aunt about his plans for the money, she was furious. My aunt's daughter was next in line to receive the rings I was gifted. My aunt and her children rarely came around when my grandparents were healthy as they lived 2 hours away. I was always at my grandparents' house growing up. I feel like if I was gifted the rings and my grandfather willingly decided to pay for my tuition, I would have no reason to feel like the idiot. But I do. My entire extended family is upset with me. Am I the idiot? Should I give the rings to the next in line granddaughter? Selfishly, I want to keep the rings as my grandmother wanted me to have them, but I also don't want to lose my family over them. I guess I used the words next in line out of context. My aunt's daughter, my cousin, is the oldest granddaughter and was supposed to inherit the rings. However, my grandmother was completely coherent when she gave me the rings and asked me to take them off of her fingers, and then she slipped them onto mine. It's one of my favourite memories of my grandmother now. Not the idiot. Honour your grandparents' wishes. And don't let arbitrary birth order be the deciding factor. That's what your aunt and cousin want because that privileges them. If pressured again, I would respond with something like, I have chosen to respect my grandmother's wishes. This is what she chose. I agree, these are the grandparents' belongings to do with as they wish. No one is guaranteed to inherit anything. Opie's family arbitrarily setting up a next in line, especially without speaking with the grandparents, is selfish and delusional at best, and grossly looking forward to their deaths at worst. Opie should keep everything and ignore the family trying to pressure her to do otherwise. I find it very weird when family members believe they have a right to anything simply due to blood relations. If you didn't earn it, everything you receive is a gift, not a right. This isn't the line of succession to the throne. They're your grandmother's possessions, and she can dispose of them exactly as she likes. I'm sorry for your loss. It sounds like she was a big part of your life. Do not give the rings to anybody, and take care of your grandfather.